Hello and welcome to gusmcdollgames, and thank you to our subscribers. I'm Nick McDowell, and today we're continuing the Allied Grant campaign in Close Combat A Bridge Too Far, a game based on the Battle of Arnhem, Operation Marketgarden. In this series, we use the missions in the Allied Grant campaign to illustrate one or more aspects of World War II infantry minor tactics at the company level and below. Each episode we conduct basic mission analysis, develop and analyse possible courses of action, then decide and execute the plan in real time, followed by lessons learned. Please remember to like the video and subscribe for more great strategy and tactics content. And if you want to buy me a coffee, the links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. In this episode, we're in the Arnhem sector, the Arnhem Relief Area of Operations. Our objective is the Relief West Approach. It is Day 3 of Operation Marketgarden, 0600 hours on 19 September 1944. Relief West Approach. You fought hard to secure this area in the Arnhem Bridge operation, but now the Germans threaten to take it back. Do everything you can to keep this avenue clear of enemy troops. This may be an impossible task because enemy troop strength will continue to increase while yours decreases. Your reinforcements should arrive on Day 3. The road must remain in British hands so that Lieutenant Colonel Frost's men remain supplied and in contact with the rest of 1st Airborne. If you let the Germans take this area, your men will be cut off at the Arnhem Bridge. Let's examine our forces. Yesterday, Lieutenant Hoffman held open this approach to Arnhem Bridge with 2 rifle sections and a Vickers medium machine gun and suffered 3 KIA. Overnight, as promised, Battalion has managed to send significant reinforcements to Lieutenant Hoffman. Airborne Bren teams are the core of the British Army. They use a light machine gun, bolt-action rifles and hand grenades. Use them on the front lines, but they should run or hide from tanks. Airborne rifle teams use bolt-action rifles and hand grenades. The team leader is armed with a submachine gun. Use rifle teams on the front lines and to hold victory locations. They are useless against tanks. Airborne Piat teams consist of an anti-tank bomb projector, a bolt-action rifle and hand grenades. Not as effective as the Panzerschreck, the Piat's effective range is 8 to 80 metres. Airborne 6-pounder light anti-tank gun teams also contain rifles and grenades. Best used as an anti-tank weapon, this gun is also effective against infantry targets. Its high rate of fire makes up for its low armour penetration. Airborne 3-inch medium mortar teams also contain bolt-action rifles and hand grenades. Because mortars can shoot over obstacles, position these teams behind buildings or trees. Use them to suppress enemy infantry and lay smoke screens. Airborne Vickers medium machine gun teams also include bolt-action rifles and hand grenades. Position these teams in multi-storey buildings or locations with long lines of sight so they can suppress enemy infantry. Next, let's look at the map and do some mission analysis. I will develop a plan and then execute it in the game. Our mission is to defend the Relief West Approach in order to enable supply and reinforcement to our troops at Arnhem Bridge. We have an infantry company from the British 1st Airborne Division, consisting of 2 rifle sections, 3 Bren sections and 2 Piat teams, with a Vickers medium machine gun detachment, 6-pounder anti-tank gun and 3-inch mortar in support. North is towards the bottom of the map. This time my focus is on the eastern or left side of the map from where the Germans will attack. I have marked 5 areas of interest. Number 1, the 2-storey stone building marked the Orphanage, which overlooks movement along the riverfront and the streets. Number 2, the crossroads around Romans Plain, as the buildings here have long lines of sight down all of the key roads and effectively control movement from east to west. Last time, this was decisive terrain, and I expect it will be again. Number 3, the open area around the rail station and rail depot, with the road to Oosterbeek to the south. This is likely to be the Germans' final objective. Number 4, a number of single-storey warehouses that do not provide any obvious offensive or defensive advantage and are overlooked by 3-storey buildings and adjacent blocks. The 2-storey stone Hotel Kaiserskron building in the centre is a possible firing position for machine guns. And number 5, the rows of 3-storey houses north of the Rhine, such as Von Sant's house, that control the road to Arnhem Bridge with good observation and lines of fire down the streets. I assess the enemy will again attempt to clear the British from this area in order to isolate the airborne forces at Arnhem from reinforcement and resupply. The enemy's most likely course of action is to conduct an infantry assault. The enemy would move along the rows of houses from Arnhem, locate my forces, and conduct a frontal assault on my position, relying on superior firepower from multiple machine guns to suppress, and then weight of numbers to overrun my forces. This would force me to either withdraw from the area or face destruction. The enemy's most dangerous course of action is to use 1 or more tanks to support an infantry assault. The tanks could hang back and provide suppression at a distance, or they could rely on speed and shock action to break into the defensive system, firing at close range to destroy the cohesion of the defenders, allowing the supporting infantry to overrun the position in a frontal or flanking attack. This would destroy my forces in the area and cut off Frost's men at the bridge. When I fought here yesterday, I chose a defensive position based on the Remnant's Plain complex. I called this position Rorke's Drift because I only had 2 rifle sections and a Vickers medium machine gun against overwhelming odds. But, from this sound defensive position, my troops inflicted 35 KIA on the enemy, 12 times their own casualties, destroying an entire German Kampfgruppe. The logic of this defensive position still holds. The enemy has to cross open ground to attack this area from any direction. The buildings here have excellent lines of sight and fields of fire covering any movement along the roads. If I split my teams, 1 to each building, I give them cover and concealment and reduce their vulnerability to suppression by enemy mortar or machine gun fire. This approach also allows mutual support, that is, each section can fire across the front of the others. Today, I will use my reinforcements to consolidate and build up a defensive system based on this position. So, I'll place my rifle and Bren sections to fire down the roads and dominate the open ground on the approaches to Remnant's Plain. I will place them so they have interlocking fields of fire and can provide each other mutual support. The Vickers machine gun will occupy a depth position and fire down the main street, as well as cover the front of the position, and the mortar will occupy a defilade position behind the orphanage to engage any on-call targets. I'm also worried about tanks, so I'll incorporate an anti-armour ambush into this system. I assess the greatest threat from the tanks is if they get in close to overrun my forces in the main defensive system. So I'll establish an engagement area in the centre of this system. The company will stay concealed to lure any tanks into this ambush location. Then I will spring the ambush with the 6-pounder anti-tank artillery supported by the 2 Piat teams. I've also assigned secondary tasks if the tanks attack from an unexpected direction. For security, the 6-pounder is covered by Staff Sergeant Tedder's rifle section to the south, and the Piat teams are covered by the troops in the main defensive system. Also, in the comments on previous episodes, you've given me great advice about deploying anti-tank guns in buildings for better cover and concealment, including against mortar indirect fire. The single-storey stone rail depot building seems a great place from which to put this advice into practice. In the defence, the bulk of the artillery will be sighted so as to bring the full weight of its fire on an enemy attacking the main system. We have 30 minutes to achieve our objectives. I'll now move my troops into position and execute the plan in real time. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the various courses of action and if you've identified a viable alternative. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more great strategy and tactics content. And so we begin. I was right about tanks. The enemy have brought a Jagdpanther back to this area. Back in episode 17, I observed this was an odd choice for this map. Technically it is not a tank at all, but a self-propelled anti-tank gun. It does not have a turret, and the entire vehicle must rotate to engage a target, but it is well armed with an 8.8cm anti-tank gun and well protected with 8cm of frontal armour. It specialises in destroying tanks and is lethal against any tank the Allies are likely to field in marketgarden. But against my infantry, it is limited to firing solid shot and machine guns down the bore side against structures. Like any anti-tank gun, it can be lethal in a fire support role and will cause casualties, but despite its massive size, it is not as much of a threat to infantry as a Mark IV Panzer. Nonetheless, I decide to move the Piat team forward. The rest of the company stays concealed as the Jagdpanther advances.
Move completed.
Suddenly, I spot a Schützen squad moving forward rapidly towards Von Sont's house. Corporal Kramer's front right Bren section targets the squad. But the Vickers does not have a shot.
Unter Beschuss!
The Germans take von Hunt's house, but come under fire from the two Bren sections, Corporal Kramer and Corporal Keith. The Jagdpanther engages the front section. It goes to ground. A machine gun squad crosses the street near the Arnhem objective. Corporal Keith's squad engages it. A Panzerschreck squad also breaks cover, heading along the north towards the orphanage. Lieutenant Hoffman's team prepares to open fire. They lose the shot, but fire at von Hunt's house instead. The Germans take the Hotel Kaiserskron. It seems they are attacking north and south of the main road, with the Jagdpanther in the centre providing their fire support. Corporal Kramer's Bren section takes a casualty from the Jagdpanther. Most of the company has remained concealed. Perhaps the Germans think they are only up against two sections again. The Jagdpanther is feeling confident and advances to overrun the company position, just as predicted. Meanwhile, I spot a Flammenwerfer or flamethrower squad to the south. I do not want to let it get close to my position. Supported by an Aufklärer squad, the Jagdpanther charges forward into the engagement area. Target tank! Hit! The Piat knocks out the Jagdpanther with a top-down shot at point-blank range. Meanwhile, Corporal Kramer's Bren section has defeated the Aufklärer squad.
Area secured.
We secure the objective, and start to receive enemy mortar fire. A Sturmgrenadier squad breaks cover and advances in the open. The Vickers and Bren sections target it, and cause casualties. The Jagdpanther cooks off. The Bren sections on the right flank target the enemy in von Hunt's house. Sergeant Ott's Bren section on the left flank remains concealed. The Vickers targets a heavy machine gun moving in the open. Staff Sergeant Tedder's rifle section destroys the Flammenwerfer squad. The Vickers continues to cause casualties on enemy troops in the open. The Sturmgrenadier squad takes heavy casualties. It is rendered ineffective. On the right flank, Corporal Keith's Bren section targets a Schutzen squad assaulting across open ground. Lieutenant Hoffman's rifle section joins in, as does Corporal Kramer's Bren section. The last member of the Schutzen squad falls.
Move completed. Move completed. Nailed them.
The Vickers searches for targets without success. The German Schweres or heavy machine gun squad assaults forward. Not the best use of this support asset. The company goes to ground. The battlefield goes silent. Enemy mortar rounds start to fall on Staff Sergeant Tedder's rifle section as the entire company goes to ground. The position remains secure, and the outcome of this battle is not in doubt.
In position.
The 6-pounder reminds me they are waiting for orders, but there are no targets for them. The German heavy machine gun squad breaks cover, and the mortar and Sergeant Ott's Bren section find a target. The battle ended because the Germans were routed from the map. The Allies gained control of the area, but the Germans are expected to launch a counterattack later. The German forces took excessive losses. I have made Allied progress of 30 against expected progress of 10 by the end of the day. I suffered 1 KIA and inflicted on the enemy 23 KIA, 1 armoured vehicle destroyed and 1 surrendered. We have secured the Arnhem approach again and will not see the Germans again until tomorrow. Lieutenant Colonel Frost's men at Arnhem Bridge will remain supplied. Let's examine casualties on both sides. First, the British. I suffered a single casualty. Lance Corporal Van Sant was tragically killed in action by the Jagdpanther. I feel I should name a house after him. Private Bosco and Private Yoda from the Piat section knocked out the Jagdpanther and are awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal. Well done. However, once again, it is the Vickers machine gun that accounted for the majority of enemy casualties. Then the Germans. The Kampfgruppe from the 9th Panzer Division is mostly destroyed. Only the Schweres heavy machine gun, Granatwerfer and Panzerschreck remain. So, what did we learn? Once again, applying historical World War II defensive doctrine worked. a sound defensive system with good fields of fire carried the day. The anti-armour ambush also worked well. The anti-tank artillery was in position to bring the full weight of fire on an enemy attacking the main defensive system. 3 weapon systems were all in position to engage from different directions, and a Piat team got in first and destroyed the Jagdpanther. That is how it is done. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and donate, and stay tuned for the next episode.